Barrie residents will be warned with a sign when they enter an automated speed enforcement camera zone. During the City Council meeting last week, Ward 7 Councillor Gary Harvey's amendment to install signs in each direction of speed cameras was approved.
Unfortunately, the people that were calling me were not working people like us. They were retirees. One guy that phoned me had already gotten 3 and went to the mailbox that morning, and there was 3 more waiting for him. And he was someone that lived in that immediate area, and at almost $200 a pop, a retiree, that's significant. Another lady was literally crying on the phone. Doesn't live in our jurisdiction, but comes northbound on 27, where it turns into Essa Road, driving her husband to the hospital a couple times a week, and all of a sudden she got a couple too, and quite evidently didn't know how she was going to pay the $200 a pop, because with them being in community safety zones, the other thing is the fines are doubled too, so that's why the fines are as steep as they are. So those are my comments. I think it's just all about more about optics, signing it as best as possible to be able to give people a fair, frank warning that you're entering a speed camera area, as I've seen in other jurisdictions.
I can't support this because, as Deputy Mayor Thompson mentioned, they were speeding 6 times in a school zone. And I don't think that, and there is speed limits in school zones. There are community safety zones for a reason in my ward. And Street Hill, there has been a significant slowdown, and I hope it stays that way.
I'm going to support this. I think the whole intent of speed cameras is to slow people down, is to change behavior. And while I appreciate Councillor Courser's comments in terms that we're doing everything that we're legislatively required to do, which is great, I think anything we can do to slow down folks is a must. And, you know, if people aren't slowing down, and again, we don't have the flashing lights. I mean, I've driven through as well. And I think if we want them to slow down, if we want them to be aware that cameras are there, if more signage is going to help in that respect, then I'm all for that.
The council also moved ahead with an adult school crossing guard initiative. The staff report about it will be discussed during the September community safety meeting.
And we only have 2 weeks of the meeting cycle left before summer recess, so we're anticipating bringing it back the first community safety committee meeting in September.
That is unfortunate from my perspective, just given that, you know, a conversation last week, we really were hopeful and looking at kind of launching this sooner rather than later if we were going to proceed with more of a collaborative type framework or model. So pushing it to fall, to me, I mean, if that's what we have to work with, I guess it is what it is, but just a bit disappointing because I feel like if that's the first meeting, community safety, and then it's got to go to general and it's got to go to council, we'll be through another school year and perhaps nothing gets done again. So maybe I would just say if there's any way to somehow fast track this in the fall, then that would be appreciative.
Among other items, the proposed housing community improvement plan was passed by the council. Ward 4 Councillor Amy Courser states the need for an updated definition of affordability given the increased living costs in Barrie.
Concerns about the affordability, and I do still have the same concerns, but I feel a lot better now that really looking at the scorecards and the opening of the door for developments to be able to apply for better funding, because if they do offer these different incentives for affordable or even attainable housing.
Follow the timestamps in the description to jump to the relevant section of the video.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted. 24G141, lease of additional speed enforcement cameras. Councillor Harvey, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I have 3 amendments. I'd like to introduce each one individually as they kind of touch on different aspects. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Harris, that motion 24G141 of Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, regarding the lease of additional speed enforcement cameras be amended to add the following. that staff and development services make arrangements for the installation of 2 speed camera in use signs in each direction of an automated speed camera when the camera is in use, taking into consideration locating the signs at roadways or near the camera location so that drivers will be better warned when entering the area of speed cameras.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Clerk. It's moved by Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Harris, that motion 24G141 of Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024 regarding the lease of additional speed enforcement cameras be amended to add the following: that Staff and Development Services Department make arrangements for the installation of 2 speed camera in-use signs in each direction of an automated speed camera when the camera is in use, taking into consideration locating the signs at roadways or near the camera location so the drivers will be better warned when entering the area of speed camera locations. And the floor is yours, Councillor Harvey.
Right. Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. After receiving quite a number of calls and emails, especially when one of the locations was in my ward on Essa Road, just south of Mapleview, where the high school and Timothy Christian Private School is, started looking at the setup of the signs a little bit closer and comparing them to what I've seen in other jurisdictions. And it was through that I then realized the locations were actually being set up differently. One was a single sign as you were entering the area, and the other location was a single sign but physically attached to the pole where the camera was. So by the time you're already in, the camera's got you before you've even seen the sign. The other issue that came up, especially on the Essa Road one, was if you were pulling in off of Dyer and going on to Essa Road, unless you happen to be sitting there at the light stopped and looking at the pole at a particular angle, you wouldn't have actually even seen the small, maybe I think it's like 12 or 14 inches square sign that says municipal speed camera in use. So this is just to sign it a little bit better. When you look at other municipalities that have had the speed cameras operating for a few years longer than us, you do see that in a lot of locations, especially the more wider roads where you're getting into multiple lanes opposed to just one lane each way. And I think it really comes down to the optics, because unfortunately the people that were calling me were not working people like us. They were retirees. One guy that phoned me had already gotten 3 and went to the mailbox that morning, and there was 3 more waiting for him. And he was someone that lived in that immediate area, and at almost $200 a pop, a retiree, that's significant. And that's why I really do support this alternative penalty system with the screeners, because it'll help with dealing with those situations when people have got multiples and dealing with that. And another lady was literally crying on the phone. Doesn't live in our jurisdiction, but comes northbound on 27, where it turns into Essa Road, driving her husband to the hospital a couple times a week, and all of a sudden she got a couple too, and quite evidently didn't know how she was going to pay the $200 a pop, because with them being in community safety zones, the other thing is the fines are doubled too, so that's why the fines are as steep as they are. So those are my comments. I think it's just all more about optics, signing it as best as possible to be able to give people a fair, frank warning that you're entering a speed camera area, as I've seen in other jurisdictions.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. So I will support the amendment, but reluctantly. So the explanation that somebody's got 6 tickets and we're going to put more signs is, like, I'm more worried about that person driving 6 times through a school zone speeding. But the optics of, and I understand, but the whole purpose was to change behavior. So more signage, if they slow down, that's how I can support it, but not for the people who have multiple tickets. That's not why I'm supporting this. But for the having more signs, more people will slow down, and I think we need to remember there's a camera that catches you speeding, but there's already a sign that posts a speed limit not to speed in the school zones. This one just catches you. So there's always signs there. But like I said, I can support it because when I voted in favor of going down the road of cameras, it was my main thought process was if we can change the behaviors was the purpose, and if we can't change the behaviors, then there was something that we could reinvest into more safety. So it's about road safety for me. It's not about the person with multiple tickets, and that's actually concerning that their behavior isn't changing. So, but I will support it. But like I said, we've already got signs that indicate speed zones in school zone, and they're called speed signs.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Councillor Courser.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to, I guess it would be Ms. Banfield. Is there any reason why the signs were different at different locations?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser. Typically, staff really just tried to use the existing posts. So we obviously used the requirements of the Highway Traffic Act as it relates to the signage requirements. And ultimately, it was trying to use existing infrastructure because, as Council knows, if we needed to do new posts, we'd need new locates, and it just adds time to it.
If I could follow up, so the signs that were accompanying the cameras were following the MTO laws?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser, correct.
I can't support this because, as Deputy Mayor Thompson mentioned, they were speeding 6 times in a school zone. And I don't think that, and there is speed limits in school zones. There are community safety zones for a reason. If we're following the rules of the MTO, then I think that we are on solid legal ground. And I think that what we've been doing good is we have, in my ward and Street Hill, there has been a significant slow down, and I hope it stays that way. I think that we should stay the course, and I think that for as long as we're following the MTO rules, then we're good. So I can't support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Courser. Councillor Rietma.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I have a question for Ms. Banfield as well. Is there And do you have any concern with the amendment as proposed? Like, is it a practical thing to do, or is it going to cause us some grief?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Rietma, I don't believe there's an issue with adding extra sign.
Okay. I'm a bit torn on this one. On the one side, I'm saying to myself, somebody speeds, the signage is there, they should change their behavior, and that's really what I'd like them to do. On the other hand, certainly giving them fair warning is a reasonable approach, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Councillor Morales?
I'm struggling with this one as well. Fair warning is great, public disclosure, all that fun stuff, but fair warning implies that you're giving them warning to change something, and if they were going to speed a limit or within the range of variance, then they wouldn't need to change something. Right, so if they were keeping to the spirit of the speed limit, because I know there's a bit of a variance, they wouldn't need to change anything. So I like the fair warning part. So, but I'm really struggling with this one as well, because all it does is really make them slow down for a greater period of time. But now it's reminding me of the speed bumps where people slam on the brakes before they get to it. They're compliant when they go over it, and then they slam on it again. So it's kind of following a different but similar logic on this one. But I appreciate, obviously, the rationale that Councillor Harvey brought, and obviously some residents are experiencing multiple tickets. So this one's an interesting one. I'll listen to further discussion.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, and through you, I'm going to support this. I think the whole intent of speed cameras is to slow people down, is to change behavior. And while I appreciate Councillor Courser's comments in terms that we're doing everything that we're legislatively required to do, which is great, I think anything we can do to slow down folks is a must. And, if people aren't slowing down, and again, we don't have the flashing lights, I mean, I've driven through as well, and I think if we want them to slow down, if we want them to be aware that cameras are there, if more signage is going to help in that respect, then I'm all for that. And I guess my question actually is, I know we were following up with the province regarding the flashing lights and sending them that communication that we prefer to have cameras in use in addition to the flashing lights. Is there any follow-up in that front? I know you sent out the communications. I don't think we had heard anything back yet, but just checking on that, because in my opinion, if the flashing lights are off, additional signage may help, in fact, remind people that this is a community safety zone and to slow down. That's the behavior we want. Let's make sure we give as much communication about as we can.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Hamilton. I actually looked into that inquiry today because we did have a media inquiry the same. And as far as I could check from anyone in the city, we've not received formal written response to that letter that we sent to the ministry.
Thank you for that update. So in my opinion, until we hear something back and until we can resume the use of the flashing lights, I think additional signage is probably a smart move at this point. So thank you, Councillor Harvey, for thanks for it.
Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you, Councillor Hamilton. I was sitting here having the same recollection of most of the concerns that were presented to me by residents when we first, and we had Councillor Morales and I shared one of the first ones on Big Bay Point, was the loss of the flashing signs. So when we say, you know, fair warning that you're about to enter a special area, we lost a pretty clear and distinct warning. And I understand it was legislated, and then we had to put up a sign that had a lot of text on it. And so I think that in of itself was, you know, a step backwards as far as advising people of the importance of the area you're about to drive through and to be aware that this is a school safety zone. So I like the idea of adding some more signage to help alert people to the importance of the area you're about to drive through. Not that you're not already aware, and it may not be speed, it's just awareness, quite frankly. It's two things, right? It's being aware of where you're driving and also the speed that you're likely to need to be careful at. And it changes, and I think that was the other piece too, that it changes. Not always is it, or was it in the past, 40. It would go 40, and then when signs are flashing, it was 40, but not when they weren't flashing. So I think there's been some changes. So I think fair warning to people to reinforce the behavior of slowing down and to be aware in safety zones, school safety zones. I think that would be a positive move. And if we were kind of doing a PDSA cycle, this might be the outcome of how do we improve this. We've studied it, and now we can add some more signage to make it even better. So I'll support the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Kungle?
No, just a good conversation, I think, overall on it. And sometimes I think, what's our decision-making framework? But if it really is about, you know, reducing harm and helping people make that behavior change, then, you know, I'm not all for signs. Sometimes we think signs solve it, but I think here where we've made an investment, it's part of a more of a comprehensive initiative. I'm okay to see it go forward for consideration for budget intake form.
So this particular item isn't for budget intake form, it's to actually do the signs. I know there's another item that's coming forward with the budget intake form.
So separate and apart, I'm fine for this as well as I think what I believe is coming next.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? I think everyone's taking a round at this. We don't usually have that around the table, do we? You know, I think when I look at it, I struggle as well in the sense that everyone has already said, it's like we're going to warn people to slow down so they don't get a ticket in a place that we are using the tickets as a way to encourage people to slow down. One piece that kind of sticks out to me, though, is that marketing matters, and the more times you tell somebody something, the brain retention goes up, and hopefully that has a more permanent impact on driving in these said areas. So I'll support it as well. I'm going to call the vote to all those in favor of the motion by Councillor Harvey here. And it carries. Now we're on the main motion. Councillor Harvey, I think you have a second amendment?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Harris, that motion 24-G-141 of Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, regarding the lease of additional speed enforcement cameras be amended to add the following. That Staff and Development Services Department prepare and submit an operating intake form for consideration as a part of the 2025 budget concerning the installation of a second set of school zone signs and the school time speed limit sign for each of the community safety zones within the city where the automated speed cameras will be operated on main arterial roads that are 2 lanes in width with the characteristics similar to the south end of Essa Road and the other roadways that are 4 lanes wide. And I can speak to that.
It's moved by Councillor Harvey and seconded by Councillor Harris that motion 24G141 of Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024 regarding the lease of additional speed enforcement cameras be amended to add the following. The staff in the Development Services Department prepare and submit an operating intake form for consideration as part of the 2025 budget concerning the installation of a second set of school zone signs and the school time speed limit sign for each of the community safety zones within the city where automated speed cameras will be operated on main arterial roads that are 2 lanes in width with characteristics similar to the south end of Essa Road and other roadways that are 4 lanes wide. Over to you, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Again, just by looking around to what our neighboring municipalities have been doing that have had this program running for several years longer than us, and obviously, as Councillor Harris just mentioned, the fact that the yellow lights have to be covered when the cameras are in place due to some technicalities and provincial legislation. And when you look at York Region, for instance, they've even taken it one level further recently and even added the round neon new sign at their locations where the cameras are operating. Now, their cameras only operate on similar roads like what we're talking about here, main arterials. That would be considered regional roads or county roads in our case. And that's why, like, I've included in the amendment the south end of Essa Road, because you're dealing with Highway 27 that then splits off and is still a very rural 2-lane road when you hit that first set of schools, and that's kind of an anomaly in our city, whereas when you start looking at other areas, whether it's Yonge Street, Big Bay Point, Ann Street, you're predominantly dealing with wider roads that are at least 4 lanes wide. And the other rationale behind this too is when you're dealing with wider lanes, and let's say you're on the incoming, not on the curb lane, you're in the center lane, you can actually be blocked out by another vehicle and not see it. Obviously, if you live around here, you know when you're coming up to a school zone, but if you don't live around here, you'd have no idea potentially that you're entering a school zone. And it's all about giving people fair warning. Hopefully they wouldn't miss both, but again, this is just best practices that I've seen in other municipalities.
Thank you, Councillor. The motion's on the floor. Any other questions regarding the second signage of the school zones and the speed limits in school zones? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. I believe there's one more.
One last one, thank you. It's probably good I did them individually, especially with the conversation around the first one. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Harris, that motion 24G141 of Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, regarding the lease of additional speed enforcement cameras be amended to add the following. That's Staff and Development Services Department prepare and submit an operating intake form for consideration as a part of the 2025 budget requesting in-road flexible speed signs and any additional poly bollards required for school zones throughout the city. And I can speak to that.
It's moved by Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Harris, that motion 24G141 of Section E of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024 regarding the lease of additional speed enforcement cameras be amended to add the following. That staff in Development Services Department... So I'm just going to fix this, Councillor, and ask you just to initial that. Thanks so much. Sorry about that. That staff in the Development Services Department prepare and submit an operating intake form for consideration as part of the 2025 budget, requesting in-road flexible speed signs and any additional poly bollards required for school zones throughout the city. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Not sure if everybody knows what a in-road flexible sign is, but basically it's a sign that's probably about 12 inches wide by about 3 feet high, and obviously with it being in a school zone, at the top it says 40 kilometers per hour, and then it'll have the yellow and black stripes typically on an angle. Flexible, so that way if somebody happens to get a little too close to it and run it over, it just flexes down and doesn't take the whole thing out. They're actually very effective in other communities that I've seen, and doesn't have an impact on, as long as they're appropriately placed, doesn't have an impact on emergency vehicles getting around, nor a truck getting through. And the reason the poly bollards are mentioned too is if the roadway in front of the school happens to be really wide, then sometimes adding a bollard at the side of the curb a few feet in causes that additional narrowing effect. But they are quite effective if it's installed appropriately, and because it causes that perception that the road is narrower than what it truly is and slows people down. And where these things are really good is not so much on our main arteries, but especially when we've got schools right in the heart of our subdivisions. And again, obviously, we probably won't be putting cameras at those locations. And I've left it pretty wide open as to what locations staff feel that they would be most appropriate at and the numbers that we would be looking at, or potentially even just doing it as a pilot at a few locations, see how it goes. And that's why it's kind of loosely worded. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go with Councillor Courser, then Councillor Riepma.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I love fantasy shopping all the options of keeping our school zones safe. So I've checked out a lot of different things. Yay. Just a question through you, Mayor Nuttall, to staff. Would this be, I'm assuming, Ms. Banfield, and I'm not even sure if you might know this just on the top of your head, with this conversation, would these be usable during winter months?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser, most times the flexible bollards we pull out, they're seasonal. They're used like a seasonal traffic calming measure, so they'd have to be removed in the winter for snow removal.
Oh, that is so disappointing. Okay, another follow-up question, if I may. Is there anything that we are aware of, or that we might be able to, staff might be able to research, look at, that might be more of a during the school season? Because the research I've done on such things, unfortunately, I love Councillor Harvey's, yeah, yay, but I just didn't think it was usable during winter months, and that kind of negates school safety. So maybe, is there anything else that you can think of that might be able to staff to research something that, I don't even know where I'm asking this. Yeah.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser, so if the amendment passes, staff would have to do some work on pricing out an intake form, so we could look at options. I think the wording is, it references flexible bollards, but I think we could probably take a look at other options as well, and then have it as an intake form for council to consider.
Wonderful. Back to you, Councillor Harvey. I don't know if there wants to be a change on that, or I'll leave it up to the rest of council.
Yeah, I think Ms. Banfield just said that she would be able to when she's looking, and I don't think she needs a verbiage change. We can always make a verbiage change if council wants to. I just heard that she doesn't necessarily need that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and a great idea. We've, in Ward 1, have done, and I think in some other wards too, we've done some lane narrowing with bollards and other items, and they really tend to work pretty well. So I think there's a real opportunity to do this kind of, use this kind of thing outside of school zones as well, and I'd like 100 of them for Ward 1, frankly.
I'll wait to see the intake form and the per sign purchase price. Any other questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? It carries. Any other questions or comments with regards to the main motion? Sorry, I'm trying to get all the paperwork straight here. Seeing none, all those in favor? And it carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section F of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section F of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted. 24G142 Adult School Crossing Guard Program. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the motion? Seeing none, sorry, Councillor Hamilton, was that a question, comment, or a vote?
I did just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you. I just wondering the timeline for the next safety committee meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to look it up.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Hamilton, we are likely looking at September right now for this particular item because staff was asked to get some additional information, and we only have 2 weeks of the meeting cycle left before summer recess, so we're anticipating bringing it back the first Community Safety Committee meeting in September.
Okay, that is unfortunate from my perspective, just given that, a conversation last week, we really were hopeful and looking at kind of launching this sooner rather than later if we were going to proceed with more of a collaborative type framework or model. So pushing it to fall, to me, I mean, if that's what we have to work with, I guess it is what it is, but just a bit disappointing because I feel like if that's the first meeting, community safety, and then it's got to go to general and it's got to go to council, we'll be through another school year and perhaps nothing gets done again. So maybe I would just say if there's any way to somehow fast track this in the fall, then that would be appreciative, but respect the timeline.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Courser.
I would just like to stand behind. I'd like to repeat what Councillor Hamilton said on that because I know that there has been a lot of angst and interest waiting for these reports to come back, and I know they're time consuming, especially the scope and the absolute magnitude of putting forth this project and the pricing out and the staffing and all the things. I know that it was a very, very big research project, but I am very anxious to see this come back as soon as possible as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Courser. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section G of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section G of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted. 24G143, the proposed Housing Community Improvement Plan. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Yes, thank you. Councillor Morales, and then Councillor Courser will have the floor.
No worries. Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I'd like to reaffirm my potential pecuniary interest from last week concerning this matter, as provisions in the proposed terms of reference to be adopted could potentially apply to development I am associated with, and so I will declare potential conflict on this and leave my chair and not influence the discussion.
Councillor Courser. Sorry, Madam Clerk, has the conflict been noted?
Yes, Mayor Nuttall, it has.
Thank you. Councillor Courser, now you can have the floor.
Thank you. Tap dance but through you, Mayor Nuttall, I just wanted to thank Ms. Banfield and her team for talking me off the ledge on my concerns about the affordability, and I do still have the same concerns, but I feel a lot of Feel a lot better now that really looking at the scorecards and the opening of the door for developments to be able to apply for better funding, because if they do offer these different incentives for affordable or even attainable housing. I am looking forward, if I may, talking to Ms. Banfield. You said that it's anticipated that a report should be coming back early in the new year.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser. So the conversation we had was around the price point or the calculation of affordable rent, and so the discussion that we had was, this is the recommendation in the bulletin and we kept it outside of the CIP for a reason, so we'd be able to flex the definitions as it relates to data that we get. So we said we really wanted to issue this CIP. We said that projects that have deeply affordable units are going to be reflected in the scorecard, and we really wanted to get the CIP out there, see what applications are coming in, and we always report back to council on the CIP update, and that will show you which projects received funding and where they are in the process. So that was the report back to council, which again, maybe some of the new councillors haven't seen it, but that because the CIP has been on hold, but that's what we do. We say we've done an intake, these are the projects, and then we can always be flexible with that definition of affordable after we see what the first round of intakes come back with.
And if I could, thank you so much for filling in the gaps of the information that I did not about our conversation. But again, that report should be coming up early in the new year. That is the timeline, the hopeful timeline right now.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser, we'll do the update when the intake is closed and we've ranked the grants and issued the approvals as you were, and we update council at that time, which we expect to be in either the end of this year or the very beginning of 2025.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward for the report coming back. Thank you so much, staff.
Thank you, Councillor Courser. Thank you, Ms. Banfield. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, all those in favor, and it carries.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section H of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section H of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted. 24G144, 2023 Budget and Business Plan Year-End Report. Are there any questions or comments with regards to this motion? Seeing none. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Real quick, this is a 50-page report of pretty much a summary of all our finances and just certain things that caught me. A lot of people talk about our rates of wastewater, water. If you look, the surpluses were very minimal, and it's not a revenue source. It's reinvested in our water systems and our wastewater, and that's one thing that we're really known for. Our infrastructure is ready and it's always updated, and it's a very important thing of our municipality. And some people talk about our rates of water, but it's the investment we're making for the future of the city. And some other highlights, and we have some surplus money. So just to Mr. Miller and his team and all of staff, if you look at kind of the summary page, that most of our departments ran under budget. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, and it carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section I of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29th, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section I of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted. 24G145, Recreation and Sport Community Grant Adjudication Process. Councillor Kungle.
I just want to quickly comment. I've got no changes or amendments on the floor, but rather than holding the circulation list, just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Bell and the team. I mean, already they've come back with information for us around identifying 6 other municipalities that they've already scoped to look into, and a formal process about the new structure. And I believe making sure that that's going to be something that's underway to make sure it's ready for the intake process. So I do appreciate staff's very quick response to this and willingness to look into the structure.
Thank you, Councillor Kungl. Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. And earlier on tonight, we approved our first youth council. And this item, I was thinking about a amendment, but I realized this is for the spring allotment. So our youth council wouldn't be ready, but I would just want to put forward that something like this is an opportunity exactly where the youth council could have a really important role. Many of the organizations that apply to this fund provide services for youth. So I don't have the amendment tonight because our committee wouldn't be ready, but rest assured that I would be looking forward to having the opportunity to add something that puts the youth council as part of this decision-making process. So I'll just leave it at that. And I don't know if it's fair with process. I'll make the same comment for the next item too. But now the process might be a little bit the timing because it's fall. We could be operational, but I will maybe talk with the clerk offline and see if that's something we can bring back once we're, because again, the Right Futures grant is about young people. So who better than to engage in that consultation and adjudication than young people? So I thank you.
Madam Clerk, if the committees that now help with the adjudication of this decide to seek the input of the Youth Council, is that something they can do inside of their mandates, or do they have to have written requests from council?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to members of council. With respect to the motion that's on the floor, there wouldn't really be the time to get the input from the Youth Council for this particular round because the adjudication process has to take place during the summer in order to award the recipients in the fall, from my understanding, and Mr. Bell can jump in and correct me if I am wrong, or Ms. McAlpine. And with the second one, there is only one round of funding left for the Bright Futures at this point in time. So I'm not 100% sure of the timelines for this adjudication process off the top of my head, if it's the same fall process. So I'm going to defer to Ms. McAlpine to provide some details.
Thank you. Through Mayor Nuttall to Councillor Harris, the clerk is correct. There, at this point in time, there's only one round remaining for the other grant. Given the process that's involved in adjudicating these and the structure that has been recommended at this point in time, we would initiate the intake in the fall, but we anticipate that this will take longer given this structure versus, those groups will have a relatively short window of time to apply. So I think in this case, there's definitely not enough time for the Youth Council, and in the other one, it may be questionable as well, given the timing, and it's only a single last intake. If, of course, we receive more funding from the federal government, we could review it then.
Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Nuttall, and thank you, Ms. McAlpine and Ms. Cook. Yeah, I think it's nice to be able to raise the point of the value and the potential for this Youth Council to contribute to our community. So thank you for helping reinforce that, and I look forward to the future opportunities because the Sport and Recreation Fund is an annual. So we look forward to 2025 having an opportunity to contribute to that effort, and obviously other potential grants that focus on youth. So exciting to know, and that our group will have some important functions that we can look forward to. So thank you.
And I have a feeling you're going to remind us. So we make sure we actually do it. Any other questions or comments with regards to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section J of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section J of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted, 24G146, Bright Futures Barrie Grant Adjudication Process. Any questions or comments with regards to the motion on the floor? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey, that Section K of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that Section K of the Second General Committee Report dated May 29, 2024, now circulated, be adopted. 24G147, Memorandum from the Barrie Public Library Board and Chief Executive Officer regarding the Barrie Public Library's key performance indicators, and 24G148, Confidential Memorandum concerning a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality water lot. Any questions or comments from members of Council? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. There are no pieces of deferred business or direct motions or presentations, and so we're on to 15 on the agenda, which is inquiries. Do I have any inquiries, Councillor Kunkel?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I have a couple of inquiries of staff on one topic, and I'm just going to pull it up. And this was specific to an item I believe many of us are getting calls about, but it's with regards to the waterfront multi-use sports field and Sea Cadets Parade grounds. So just making reference to the May 8th staff report. And so I guess my question will first be directed to Ms. James Reed from Communications. While in that report, there is a table around timelines, high level, that does identify, I believe, next steps being an RFP to go, and then a range of different kind of aspects as it relates to, trying to find the page, sorry, design and consultation. And I didn't know, because I'm still hearing a lot of different ways in which the public has understood or misunderstood some of how that's gone from a concept into what might shape a next step. Is there anything in development at this time that council can soon point residents to as a single point of information about where we're at in the next steps of that process, and kind of an FAQ opportunity, or when we might see those concept designs coming back through the RFP process?
Thank you for the inquiry. Yes, there is a dedicated page that's in the works on barrie.ca, as is our normal process for a project that's been approved by council, especially of this scale. So we've been working closely with Ms. Banfield's team on that information, and there will be FAQs, next steps, and that's going to be on our barrie.ca page under planning. The title is Planning, Building, Infrastructure section, and then / current projects. So I could send that link out to members of council once it's live. I anticipate that it would be live this week because there is a draft prepared already. And then that will be where the FAQs will be and next steps. And then once engagement opportunities are more further developed, then we would leverage our Building Barrie page as we do for more things. But all of that would be linked from this page. So I'll follow up later in the week when it's live, and then you'll have that to respond to inquiries.
Thank you very much, Ms. James Reed. And then if I can redirect my next question to Ms. Banfield. And it doesn't have to be, I don't want to get into the weeds tonight, but I'm not sure if it's possible to clarify when that goes live. If the table on page 28 of that staff report from May the 8th that talks a bit about the phases, the tasks, and the timelines, if there's clarity about, I think there's about 6 to 7 different elements around moving from projects being tendered through the RFP, which is, I believe, the next step after council approved it, to then going into design aspects between August to December. And so I didn't know if those have embedded in them engagement opportunities for residents to give feedback or input, or if when we're communicating this timeline that was in the memo, if we can clarify where residents in the next steps will or will not have opportunity to give input, because I think those that have been really activated about this conversation are looking for making sure they don't miss out on being able to participate in any opportunities to be engaged, consulted, or inform the city about any concerns or opportunities they see for this project.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Kungle, while this project is getting a lot of attention, it really is going to be operated and handled like every other Parks Master Plan project in the context of we always have consultation. We work very closely with Ms. James Reed's team, and depending on the popularity and the site, there's all sorts of things that we do, whether it's open houses or Painswick Park as an example. Like we actually had engagement right at the park, and so there's all sorts of different things. So we always have a Building Barrie presence. You can go there now and see projects that we used to have open for consultation. So, you know, there's really actually no difference in how we're going to handle this. We always do this with all of our parks projects. And even on those web pages, they'll show the timelines and what the next steps are and who's listening to the comments. It's so typically the designer will do a couple, like 2 to 3 options of different layouts, and we get comments on those and then kind of come up with a preferred option. So there still is a lot of opportunity for feedback and input and into the final design.
Okay. And if I may, in follow up, because sometimes it's the curse of knowledge about those of us that run the process and know the process. My understanding is there's no public consultation process point until after the RFP goes and we start getting information back. So there wouldn't be a summer engagement planned. It's probably something that's landing in the fall, or should residents be watching for this over their summer holidays?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Kungle, we most likely, I can't see us with the timing getting consultation in the summer. We do consultation in the summer sporadically anyway, because people are on holidays and all those sorts of things. We tend not to do too much. Again, when we get the Building Barrie webpage up, there's the opportunity to register, and we get updates. All of our social media channels, tons of push notifications through there, as well as we often do media releases when we open engagement. So there should be lots of opportunity for people to hear about it and join in on those engagement sessions.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you to Communications for already starting to move on this and having a timeline that hopefully we'll see that this week. I think it's helpful to be able to point residents into one common area, especially when I think many are still wanting to have conversations to understand how it's moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Kungle. Are there any other inquiries this evening? I'm seeing none. We're going to move on to announcement. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hamilton, I did see your hand before. Was it for inquiries or announcements?
Announcement.
Okay, awesome. I will go to you first after Deputy Mayor Thompson. I am. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, and through you, I'm just going to mention another hot topic, which was yard waste. And I just want to say a very big thank you to staff and to residents that are watching. I know staff is really trying to balance sector, industry standards, provincial legislative changes, and resident expectations. But I think we heard residents loud and clear that there were some challenges with the changes to yard waste specifically, and putting bags out on Wednesday and not potentially having them picked up until Friday. So I know a few of us wards that had the latter half of the week pickup days. Wards, I think 8, 9, and 10 or so were picked up on Thursday and Friday, and bags were sitting out all week. We've had a whack of concerns from residents. I want to say thank you to Councillor Harvey and Councillor Negussi as well. So really bringing this back to staff and identifying this as an issue, and for staff being nimble and flexible in our approach and making the changes that needed to be made. And so if residents who are watching have not seen the media release that was coming out today, that came out today, that's starting on Monday, June 17th, yard waste will be picked up again on your designated collection day. So the same day that your garbage is picked up, but on the opposite week. So still on a bi-weekly rollout or implementation, but a designated day. So you no longer put it out on the morning, it'll be picked up sometime, it will be picked up in a designated day. So thank you to staff, and I hope that councillors are sharing this on their social media outlets as well, and just getting the word out for the changes, as I know communication can sometimes be tough, that we don't have newspapers that are going out, so I think we can all support our residents. And again, this is a good news story, I think, with listening to concerns that came in and making changes quickly. So thank you.
Councillor Harvey, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and ditto on that, Councillor Hamilton, and I think we should do a big shout out to Stephanie Mack and her team and Bala for your leadership in getting us to where we are with this as of this week, so thank you. I do have one announcement, and that's on behalf of myself and Councillor Negussi. We're hosting our annual Ward 6 and 7 combined town hall on Monday, June the 24th at 6:30 p.m. at the Peggy Hill Community Center in the upper level community room. We'll be in attendance along with Mayor Nuttall, representative from the police, bylaw, waste management, which will have a display of the new bins that we'll be getting in 2025, along with representatives from Futures Barrie to basically answer all things city related, I guess, but I know the last time they were at one of the town halls, they really had a really nice display about the waterfront parking passes. So please take an opportunity to come out. We had a really good showing last time of probably close to 100 people, by far the largest group that I've seen in my almost 6 years now. So please come out on Monday, June the 24th at 6:30 p.m. and watch your mailboxes, because there is a newsletter coming out advertising that, and also an update from Councillor Negussi and I in regards to both wards. And actually, Mayor Nuttall has a full page in that one too.
That's not a very nice full page there. Hopefully it's not just a photo, you know. Any other announcements? Councillor Kungl.
It's that time of year for Communities in Bloom, so if you haven't seen it yet, and I'm inviting all members of council who should have the little card with the QR code out there to please post and share information. So again, around fostering civic pride, environmental responsibility, and beautification throughout community involvement, we've got our Communities in Bloom. The theme is orange this year, and all residents of all ages and or businesses, schools, or individuals' homes showcase anything from, you know, one item to several items, or your landscape designs. Your photos are due by June 28th to be incorporated into a photo gallery that we will be sharing with our judges. And please check out information to register at barrie.ca/communitiesinbloom.
Thank you, Councillor Kungl. Any other announcements this evening? Why don't you do it? It's all yours.
Let's share. So I was just asking Mayor Nuttall if he was going to mention our trip to Saginaw. So last week, to explain my absence, I was in Saginaw with the delegation, Saginaw, Michigan, with the delegation from the City of Barrie to sign a new twin city agreement, and actually Mayor Nuttall did the signing. And so it was really fabulous. So on behalf of the National Relations Committee, Invest Barrie was there with the team. It was incredible to see the connections and the similarities between our two cities, and to see the energy. And their junior team is aptly named the Saginaw Spirit, because the spirit in that community is second to none. And the hospitality, and we're considered family already, as far from Mayor Brenda Moore, who is absolutely incredible. So, and they won the Memorial Cup on Sunday. I think most of us are probably watching as Saginaw Spirit fans, and we were supposed to have a jersey for Mayor Nuttall, and they were sold out. The greater Saginaw area, the last thing you could buy was a Saginaw Spirit jersey. So I apologize, Mayor Nuttall, we couldn't come through. But it was, we'll remedy that for sure. But it was an incredible visit, so thank you.
I just appreciate you not coming back with a small. That would have made it a little more difficult. Yeah, it was a wonderful time there, and they were honored enough to have the Memorial Cup, which is the first time, as I recall, it being held outside of Canada. And it was the city was, you know, it was really on fire, right? Like, there was a lot of passion, a lot of pride for the community. Mayor Moore is a huge personality and an awesome person, and it takes quite a bit for me to feel like, wow, there's somebody who's got such a large presence, and she has an amazing presence. And it was really nice for the team to meet up, to get the signing done, to talk about the opportunities. And I think we're going to do something in a couple of weeks on this. But one of the things that struck me as the day went on was the similarities between the city of Barrie and Saginaw. And I would say that when you look at where they are and what makes them the community they are, and then you leave that behind and go, okay, what are their plans for the future? And it was literally like sitting around our table and talking about all the plans that we have here in the city of Barrie in terms of making our great city better. It was really a treat to be able to be there. Are there any other announcements before I go into the mayoral announcements? Okay. Just a reminder, this Thursday is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and a parade and ceremony will be held at the Dunlop Street Cenotaph at 10:15 a.m. The parade will begin at the intersection of Mulcaster and Dunlop and head down Dunlop to the Cenotaph and Meridian Square. For more information, please visit barrielegion147.ca. The Barrie Air Show is returning to Kemptville Bay on Saturday, June 15th and Sunday, June 16th. There'll be lots of fun and free programming, and it'll be taking place all weekend starting on Friday, June 14th, and we will have a drone show on our beautiful waterfront on the evening of the 14th. Pollinator Week takes place between June 17th and 23rd, and the theme is Vision 2040. Pollinator Week emphasizes the contribution of pollinators to our ecosystems, economies, and agricultural systems. For further information, visit barrie.ca.bcity. Barrie Fire and Emergency Services is pleased to be hosting Camp Molly Barrie between September 26th and 29th, 2024. The camp is to show young females, those who identify as female or non-binary youth between 15 to 18 years, that a career in the fire service is a viable opportunity. Registration takes place between the 12th of June, 2024 and the 26th of July, 2024. For more information, please visit www.campmolly.ca. And my final announcement is that we are blessed to have here in the rotunda tonight the most beautiful woman in the world, unless my fiance and my daughter are watching, which is my mother. So thanks for joining us tonight, Mom. Kept me on my best behavior this evening. Members of council are asking that you come back in the future. And we'll move on to the bylaws. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey. The leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bill 56, 57, and 58.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that leave be granted to introduce the following bills. These bills be ready first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bills 056, 057, and 058. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the bills on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson. Oh, that's not for you. Went the wrong way there.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey. Leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bill 59, 60, and 61.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be ready first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bills 059 to 061.
Thank you, Mayor Nettle. I'd like to reiterate my potential pecuniary interest concerning all of the bills. So Bill 59, as I and my family own properties that are part of the rezoning application, and Bill 60 and 61, as it's regarding the CIP and provisions in the proposed, or now the adopted terms of reference, could potentially apply to a development I'm associated with. So as a result, I won't be voting on these matters.
Madam Clerk, is the interest being noted?
Yes, Mayor Nettle.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments with regards to 059 through 061? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Harvey. Leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bill 62.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that confirmation by law, the leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 062. Any questions or comments with regards to the confirmation bylaw? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Harris, Councillor Harvey, all those in favor? It's adjourned at 8.
That was the update from the City Hall. Thank you for watching.